We keep things rolling here on a busy edition of the Sports Cubicle here on WCPT 820 AM, WSBC 1240 AM, Chicago, Heartland Signal.com. If you would like to see the video version of all our interviews and conversations, please check us out over on the YouTube channel at The Sports Cubicle. So up next is one of our dear friends. He is a great source of knowledge. He has joined us whenever there have been subject matter that we need a little clarification on, because it is not just going to affect a certain subject of people. It will have a trickle-down effect to all of us, from the athletes themselves, the institutions themselves, and the fans themselves. And to talk about some of the big stories when it comes to these NIL, NCAA, the House, this bill, talk to us about all of it. He is the LER Alumni Professor of Labor and Employment and affiliated faculty of the University of Illinois College of Law. His research program examines employment and unions for NCAA athletes, artificial intelligence, and work and immigration. He had an amazing article that I checked out over at the University of Cincinnati College of Law Scholarship and Publications we'll get to in just a second. He's our friend. He's your friend. He is Professor Michael Leroy. Professor, welcome back to the show, buddy.
It's great to be with you.
So it has been a little bit of a busy time since the last time we spoke to you, huh? Why don't we get started? The last time we talked to you, I believe, was with the Dartmouth situation. How would you correlate where we were the last time we spoke then to where we are now post 4th of July weekend, heading into these new seasons in men's college basketball, women's college basketball, college football, and all that?
For the question. So when we last talked about the Dartmouth situation, Dartmouth had voted 13-2, their basketball team, to form a union. That's out the window. There's no more talk of a union. In fact, the National Labor Relations Board has been fundamentally altered by President Trump. So even if these folks wanted to go forward, they couldn't. Their union, the Service Employees International, withdrew their petition, recognizing that they did not want to create an adverse kind of precedent and leave the door open. Now, where we are today in sum is we are just past the House settlement. This is the antitrust lawsuit filed by players who claimed that they were improperly denied money for their broadcast NIL. So every time you see a player, their face, their image, their name, etc., NCAA rules said you get zero money out of that. The NCAA and the power conferences settled that for $2.8 billion. And then what we're dealing with going forward is the chaos and uncertainty of the so-called new amateur model. It's really, the NCAA has backed off of saying amateur, but it cannot be employment and it cannot be pay for play, but players are being paid for their publicity rights. So that's the summation of where we are.
So whenever we see a story like this, I like to see who are the players involved in this. So obviously you have the athletes themselves from a certain time period. I believe it was 2016, a little bit around that time period.
Yep.
So who are the players up against? Who is really the ones driving force behind this? Is it the institutes? Is it the presidents of these institutes? Is it certain people on the right? Is it certain people on the left? Who are the players in this game right now?
That's a superb question. There are a lot of people who are influencing events that don't speak on the record or not really disclosing where they are or what they're doing. And I don't mean to sound conspiratorial. It's just in the nature of how college athletics is conducted. You know, the front porch is a very open place for everybody to see, come to the game, enjoy the game experience, cheer for your team and support your team. But the actual business is opaque. So some of the players to look at are two attorneys, Steve Berman and Jeffrey Kessler. These are the attorneys and their firms who successfully brought this lawsuit and settled it. So let's focus on those two guys for just a minute. Those two guys were under intense criticism, even from their lead clients, like Sedona Price, who said, "Hey, you're not being upfront with us. You're not telling us what's happening." They said it's the best deal we can get. Now, after July 1st, and now we have this new NIL clearinghouse, and deals are being rejected, and the new College Sports Commission is saying we are not going to approve certain kinds of deals that are supported by collectives. These two attorneys have done a 180-degree turn and have said, that's not what we contemplated. So if you just focus on that piece, that's a key nexus point. Those two attorneys who have been driving the process don't like the first 2 weeks of the rollout. And that tells us, at least it tells me, that the settlement they thought they had isn't the settlement that they're experiencing.
And was that something that a lot of people believed was going to be the case when the murmurs came out that there was going to be a settlement, that it wasn't going to, and I hate using the term full throttle, but that it wasn't going to go any further? Was that kind of the worry, that this was going to be the rollout, that this was the expected outcome because of everybody who's in charge, from, let's say, even if whatever side you're leaning on politically, a government that isn't being ran as efficiently as people were hoping for if they voted for this party, and the NCAA themselves to roll out any of these type of rulings, because who has ever seen the NCAA actually do something correct in that stance?
Well, to pick up the last piece, the NCAA was formed in 1906, and they've never resolved the contradiction between their amateur model and the athletes were being paid 125 years ago. There is nothing new about it. Not all athletes, for sure, but the better athletes, certainly. A lot of fans, a lot of people I speak to, I listen to sports talk shows with great interest. Fans, on the whole, were skeptical that this deal would go down in a way that would provide continuity and stability. Certainly those of us who study it came to that point of view. Certainly attorneys who represent what are called objectors. These are people who are entitled to either compensation or are affected going forward. There were a lot of critics of this deal. And so, yes, it's sort of like deja vu all over again. The thought is, well, what really was accomplished here? I think the best kind of quick way of saying it is the settlement replaces one rigged market that rigged the market at $0 pay for athletes at $20.5 million pay for this year, and it bumps up incrementally. But it doesn't. Who else goes to work under a salary cap or a pay cap except players who form a union and negotiate an arm's length deal? They negotiate that, and that's a little different.
So and I want to get into this amazing article about Title IX, but kind of a mixture of dealing with Title IX and dealing with people of color and people who aren't in charge with some of these institutes. What has been the big push against, over the years of your research, years of you teaching and talking to some of the brilliant minds on the field, off the field, people who only benefit financially or benefit as fandom, the pushback for athletes getting paid? Where has that really started? Where can we pinpoint the moment where everybody else in America can get paid for their services? Whether you're a student at U of I, UFC, DePaul, it doesn't matter. If you paint an amazing picture, you can get $1 billion for that painting and become a huge star. You can become an influencer. But why is it that the average tennis player who can get a deal gets so much pushback? All the years of your research and awesome work, where can you pinpoint when the American fandom decided we don't want somebody 20-year-old making more money than me?
Well, I mean, it's a stunning change. I work on a wonderful university campus, and it's really remarkable to think that the coaching staff, the athletic administration, and the players, up until at least this new period, some were being paid seven-figure salaries or NIL deals. And it's a little jarring when you consider that many people who come to a major university or even a small university have to borrow extensively to get an education. So there's just a fundamental mismatch between what is perceived as it's a pro operation. It feels like NFL football on a Saturday, at least to me, and it's marketed like that. And I think as time has moved on, there's been a fragmentation of sort of fandom, as you refer so well to it. There's a large group of people, starting with sports clubs and youth clubs, soccer clubs, volleyball clubs. These are folks who are tennis clubs, they're very interested in sports. They develop their kids. They want their kids to play some level of college. The kids love it. They grow with it. They feel abandoned by this. So that's one sort of cluster of fandom. Another cluster of fandom are black athletes. And I've been in touch with agents of black athletes who feel that in the men's college basketball side and the football side, that they're going to get a pay cut here. And I agree with them. That's the whole point of the deal, is to suppress mobility in the portal. That's likely to happen, and to limit pay. It's not that these guys won't get paid. They'll be paid. But the money side, as college football playoff grows and grows and grows, these guys will get a smaller piece of the pie going forward.
He is Michael Leroy, friend of the show, LER alumni, professor of labor and employment relations, and affiliated faculty of the University of Illinois College of Law. His research program examines employment and unions for NCAA athletes, artificial intelligence, and work and immigration. He has been an awesome guest every single time he joins us, and he's always doing amazing work like this article, this work that you put out, and it is NCAA women athletes and NIL paid disparities. Are they students under Title IX, employees under Title, what is that, 5, 6, 7, or both, right?
Yeah.
So
right.
I just did my Rocky math for you right there on the spot. So
love it.
So I was reading through this, and everybody always knows the disparity, right? Like you have to be like an ostrich with your head in the sand if you believe that everybody's getting paid equal and that there isn't a huge pay gap, not just at your daily job, but even at these big time programs. And when I saw the number of like a paid average of 171,000 for male athletes in college basketball, compared to just under 17,000, around 16,000 for their contemporaries in the women's sport. Title IX, pay gap, disparity, the gap disparity when it comes to pay rates. How is that all in play right now with this bill, with kind of the momentum of NIL? How has Title IX been impacted in the last just few years since you've been joining us on the show?
Sure. Well, first of all, Title IX is a law, federal law, 1972. It's a short paragraph. Believe it or not, there's a law that's one paragraph. And it says that an educational institution from grade school on up through higher ed shall not discriminate on the basis of sex. Girls and boys treated equally. Men and women treated equally at college. And so college athletics reluctantly got in the business of women's athletics. They didn't want to. They were forced into it by legislation. Over time, though, they found that they had a great deal of success. To keep this answer on the brief side, LSU, about 25 years ago, tried to end its softball program. They were sued, and they were ordered to reinstate the program. It's now a championship caliber program, and it is a great fan draw and so forth. So this model has evolved in a very interesting way. There are some women's programs that just are financially viable. They're about to explode and take off. On the other hand, most of them don't attract much attention, women's lacrosse, soccer, etc. And so I think the fundamental problem here is that educational institutions, universities and colleges, they're trying to be two things at the same time that are contradictory. They have to be educational entities. That's the Title IX piece. That means they have to treat their women the same as men. They have to give them the same publicity and the same benefits. It doesn't say pay. The law says benefits. Well, benefits would include what you're getting paid for your publicity rights. So as an educational institution, they're supposed to treat men and women equally. But the market doesn't treat them equally. The market prefers football over field hockey for women.
Professor, I can talk to you about this all day because there's so much interesting nuance for people who want to have a good faith conversation about all these subject matters when it comes to sports, importance, the economic influence, the social influence that it has on it. And I think, like everything else, where people want to say keep politics out of sports, sports is inherently political, and it's been like that for a very long time, since the Aztec days and the Roman days, where life and death was determined and social status was decided about sports. So I love that we can have these amazing conversations with you. So I'm going to put you to the feet to the fire on this last one, because we know how super busy you are. Feet to the fire, Professor Leroy, all right? Will we? The
My
next.
my sandals are off. Turn up the heat.
All right, here we go. Fires are burning. Will we ever see a pro union, if we can use that word together? I think we can, pro union for college athletes.
Yes. And I'll tell you why I think so. The harder question would be when. I don't know. The number one reason why is that you would get an antitrust exemption. Our antitrust law exempts anything that involves a labor agreement. Now, right now, the NCAA is trying to get that accomplished, and you referred several times to legislation. They might actually get it done. If they get it done, then it'll take longer for this to occur. So let's say they do get it done, and then my first answer doesn't work out, which is entirely possible. The NCAA and power conference schools are going to get picked apart by lawsuits. They're going to get athletes and agents who are suing over a rejected NIL deal. They are already absorbing Title IX lawsuits. The litigation will hammer them over and over again. When the pain is enough for them to say, enough already, I think at that point, they will come to the realization that collective bargaining would insulate them from this. There are all kinds of disputes that occur between players and teams that are hidden from public view because they have a grievance process, they have an arbitration system, it is private, it doesn't go to court. And I think that's, whatever changes occur, we talk politics here, you can't deprive people of their constitutional right to go to court. And I'll just end my answer by saying, just this morning, I received an inquiry from an official at a Power 4 conference school who wants to talk to me about collective bargaining. I'm sorry to be vague and mysterious, but I wasn't expecting it. It tells me that there's somebody out there who at least wants to kick the tires on this. And it wouldn't be the first talk I had with somebody in a major athletic program about it. I think there is unrest among even athletic administrators. And if this model works for the NFL and NBA, why can't it work for college athletics?
Professor, once again, you knocked it out of the park because you put a bow on it that I kind of want to explore in our last question, and that has to do with pro sports themselves, because we know the Power 2 conferences, the SEC and the Big Ten, nothing like the idea of Alabama versus Michigan, right? U of I, Vanderbilt, those type, these are the big money moments. Why is it though that the NFL, who it thrives off SEC and Big Ten football, why don't they get involved? I guess we just found out that their own players union is going up against them with the owners and colluding against them. But why haven't we seen the pro sports, these pro unions, some of the most powerful unions in the entire country look out for their future workforce?
That is a great question. Well, I would just say we've had one illustration of it. Major League Baseball, under Tony Clark's leadership, really made a stance of this about 2 to 3 years ago. And so the union pressured MLB to recognize a players union and really pay people decently so they don't have to sleep on couches in cheap motels or something like that. Why haven't we seen that? I think there's too much fish to fry on the NFL and NBA side. They're too busy with their own business. Your question has a criticism in it. I share that criticism. These are their future employees. And by the way, with these NIL contracts, and this is my current research, the conferences and schools are requiring players to sign over their NIL rights. This is going to limit the NIL rights that are available to the players union to monetize. So pro player unions have what are called group licensing agreements. And so the pool of money for that over time is going to be more limited because, the Big Ten and SEC are calling first dibs on that. And so I think more as a matter of economics than principle, the players unions for basketball and football will roll up their sleeves and get involved eventually.
Professor, is there anything you're working on, anything that we can send the great people of Chicago listening to us all over the YouTube universe? Is there any way they can support you, anything you'd like for our fans and friends to go check out?
I'll tell you what I'll send to you is I will send a summary of this current research project. I'm looking at NIL contracts under the Big Ten and SEC. I'm just finishing this paper up, but I can give you a succinct kind of description, and I'll circle back, and you guys can sort of put it out there. I'm really glad that people are interested to learn more about it.
Well, you're a great teacher at it, and of course, we're going to love that. We're going to talk about that, and of course, we're going to want you right back on the show. He is friend of the show multiple times. He is professor of labor and employment relations and affiliated faculty of the University of Illinois College of Law. His research program examines employment and unions for NCAA athletes, artificial intelligence, and work and immigration. And that NIL research paper is going to feed families because it is going to be an epic read, as the kids say. I cannot wait to read it. He is Professor Michael Leroy. Thank you so much for joining us here on the Sports Cubicle and Sports from the Couch on WCPT 820 AM, HeartlandSignal.com, and WSBC 1240 AM. Thank you, Professor.
Thank you.